Rightio, let's get underway. Right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Holstein Friesian podcast on maximum production. And today, having our topic is champions from the paddock. Now, what do you say champions from the paddock is? Well, what's been created many years ago by Semex, and it is the Semex on farm competition. We'll have an in-depth look at it from when it started, how it started, and where it is today. So today, co-hosting along with me is Mr. David Mayo from Australia, who is a former GM of Semex New Zealand and also from Australia, general manager over there as well, and our current general manager, Mr. Ryan Lett. Bit of a background on these two gentlemen. David's, I think his first foray into New Zealand was as a teenager judging the Ayrshires at Stratford Show, and that's a few haircuts ago. And he's judged extensively in Australasia, New Zealand and abroad as well. Regarded as one of the most astute and best judges that's been produced from Australia, and he's also had a long association with the Ayrshire breed from his parents' days of the Regal Park, and he's carried it on with his daughter Ash. Taking a bit of a step back now, David, from the busy working life, and he just tells me off record he's a bit busy enough at this current stage with breeding Angus cattle as well. So welcome along, David. Your knowledge and your input into this podcast, I'm sure, is going to be really intriguing to our members, and from where it started, and for you personally, where it started from then being the over national judge for our 2026 competition as well. And Mr. Ryan Lett, who is our current general manager from Semex, the boy from Carterton, hey? He started off with Calf Club calves from the Woodley Holstein Friesian stud of the Parkers, and was an ultra competitive little fella with his calves, and his brothers and his sister, his mum and dad made sure that not only Ryan, but the calves were brought out show ring ready. And Ryan's progressed through the ranks and went to university, where he met up with a guy called Andrew Trounce from Fairview Holsteins, and it sort of enhanced his passion as well into the Holstein Friesian breed. I worked down south when he was at Lincoln after on dairy farms there, but his passion has always been for the pedigrees. His passion has always been for cows that are well bred, and hence he started off with Semex and now has worked his way through to be the GM, and pretty proud of the way he's established himself, and his reputation in New Zealand is very, very strong. He's also one of our premier judges as well in New Zealand currently, and has officiated quite extensively throughout New Zealand. So welcome aboard, boys, and look forward to today.
Thanks, Owen. Pleasure to be here. I still am keeping myself quite busy. Probably I keep myself busy by trying to keep busy. I still do have dairy cows, which we still breed and show and enter in competitions such as the on-farm challenges, and we do have 50 breeding Angus commercial cows. So between Sharon and myself and my daughter Ashley and her husband Ben, so you can keep yourself busy even if you're not employed by Semex anymore.
I'm sure. Well, the Semex on farm competition, I think it's 23, 24 years when it started. So David, you were the first, you and your great mentor Jim Conroy. How did it come about?
The Semex on farm challenge had started in Australia in 2001 through Semex Australia. I was an employee at that stage, Brad Aiken. I brought it to the Semex group, and between Jim Conroy, David Fechner and Brad Aiken and the other members of the staff at that stage, they put that competition together and got it running. Now when we come to New Zealand, Semex New Zealand under its current format was brought to New Zealand in June 2002. Jim Conroy was the general manager at that stage and I was the market development manager, and we decided that we thought the concept really suited New Zealand as it had taken off in Australia and was really well accepted. It was a great competition that was very prestigious to win, not only locally but in either a state or a national level. Jim and I met with the board of New Zealand Holsteins in, I believe it was 2003. We met in the boardroom and we pitched the idea of an on-farm challenge amongst another 2 or 3 ideas. And it was accepted by the board. They thought it was a very good idea. So we pushed on and started the competition for 2004. So it would have started in early 2004, the first judging. It's a little different on the first competition. The first competition, we decided we weren't really sure how we were going to run New Zealand. We were told it wasn't a big place, but when you start touring around, it is a big place. It was split into wards in consultation with New Zealand Holstein, and they had the wards already, and they thought that was the correct way to do it. So we had the first judging But we judged the finals in the North Island and the South Island. The North Island first judge was Peter Sheriff, and the South Island first judge was Michael Lynch. And then we had a presentation at the annual conference and awarded the prizes. And it was a very successful competition. It was brand new and very, very successful. Really liked it because they liked the concept of an on-farm. When you talk about an on-farm, not having to get animals ready for the show, so that animals had to be prepared at home, there was no clipping involved, there was no teaching a cow to lead. You presented your animal, you had a set of rules, and the judge went out and scored them on a score sheet and come up with the winners, and that was wholly successful. After that first year, it was decided that we should try and do a national competition because the first round is conducted by the branches of the different awards within New Zealand, where the second round was taken over by the Semex employees to get the judge around from area to area and look at the winners and then have an overall finals. Tony O'Connor was the judge in 2005, and so he did the first trip in New Zealand. It's carried on from there, so we've had many, many great competitions. Every year's a great competition. There's always a lot of people looking forward to firstly their own results in their local area, which I think is a big part of this competition. I think just a promotion of the high quality cows each person's got within their home areas is the first round. And then to take them into a national level and to be successful nationally is quite a distinction really when you work out when you have 700 to 800 cattle in the competition. So you're probably in some of them classes competing against 100 to 122-year-olds or things like that. So it's quite an effort to get to the final 5 or 6, let alone be the winner. So that's how it all started, and that's a little bit of the back.
So the score sheets that you adapted, which I think is very good, having been participating in the competition, did you guys design that or did that come from further afield?
Put together on the original committee from Brad Aiken, David Fechner and Jim Conroy. They wanted to make it, the scores add up different. So a final score in an on-farm challenge is out of 250. So the weights are slightly different and is weighted, each area is described and weighted in that area. But one of the reasons they took it away from that score out of 100 was it's a different event than classification. Classification's an on-farm assessment. It's different than judging because you've got all the cows in front of you. So it's made to be different. You're still all looking for, in them whole 3 formats, looking for an ideal cow, but the 220 points was a way to be different and to make people think a little differently about how to judge an on-farm challenge.
So you said like the first year was a North Island judge and a South Island judge for the final. I think that the initial launch was actually in my area. The conference was in Masterton in 2004 and it was all new to us, but being along during the conference and looking at the presentation and how it went, it was quite mind-blowing. I guess, Ryan, from your perspective now taking over from David and the behind the scenes David said about going with the Holstein Friesian, getting them on board, etc., the logistics of things now must be pretty difficult to master your way through it to get the final judged and also the regions.
Yes and no. I think, to be honest, we've been doing it so long now that it's almost become a bit of a habit or a bit of a routine. There's logistics, obviously, getting the entries and that on the ward front for the regions, getting the entries in, working out a timetable, getting the judge sorted, all that. And then the finals time, honestly, we use last year's timetable, we adjust it for where the finalists are and we run with that. It's a bit of an art down pat. We have a certain amount of time we allow per cow, certain amount of time we allow on farm for talking, and then also the obviously travel, we Google Map and travel, but we like to keep it pretty tight because they're long days. It's a lot of kilometres to travel for the judge. So you start getting out of that timetable, you start costing you at the other end. So there is a lot of logistics and in that front, working out, getting score sheets sorted, getting each area timetable sorted and that. But at the same time, I think because we've done it for so long and it's been so well established, it's pretty easy to carry on doing what we've always done. So yeah, yes and no, but I think overall we're in a pretty good routine nowadays of what we need to do and how to do it. So it's good.
I guess you're lucky as well that you've got people in the regionals like Duncan Pipe. So this region here is the godfather, the master of organising the Waikato tour, and I know he really looks forward to it and he's an ideal person to do it. And Johnny Wakeland and Ash Cummings down in the Deep South, and there's others that I haven't known, but they've been sort of the forefront. So it must be good to work with them, Ryan, to know that it'll be done
Yeah, absolutely. The regional conveners play a huge part in it. And, like I said, some of the regions, the bigger regions in the Waikato and Southland and that, you're talking, upwards of 180 animals or that. So that's 180 score sheets filled out, ready to go for each farm. Most of that judging's done over 2.5 to 3 days. So they're full days. They have to timetables organised, score sheets organised, venue for the prize giving if the region does a prize giving, prizes for the winners, and then obviously a PowerPoint presentation all done within the afternoon or a few hours before the presentation. So it's a ton of work, but a lot of those conveners have been doing it for a few years, and that makes life a lot easier on our end as well.
Definitely.
Cows are also checked on the way through. The Holstein region officers check cows and make sure they've got the right ownership and the correct cows are in there. And that's, if you're going to get some hiccups, sometimes little things cause the hiccups, and that's a big part of the competition as well.
So when you set out, David, initially, did you think, like, we've got north of 700 cows year in, year out now, and we've got over 100 farms we're visiting. Did you think that you could get to that level? Was it you think it'll take off, but, to the extent it has?
We were hopeful. If you ever speak to Jim and I, both are fairly optimistic. We probably have some goals that other people didn't realise we had. But we had goals to get more than 500 cows in the early days. We were hoping to get 500 cows, and we were hoping to get 100 exhibitors. That was the original thoughts. It's gone above and beyond that. And I think as people, finish in dairying and move on, there's been other people take over, and younger people see they really like the competition. It's been a big competition. There's 2 or 3 things happened in the early days. There's some very high-profile families that showed cows for a lot of years, that had grown in size and in their milking operation, and probably still had the love for great cows. And you'd tour and look at their farms and see the cows, and they'd have great cows. And this competition allowed them to enter it, and then be involved in it. And I think some of the names synonymous of great cows that have really come to the fore right through. And if you look through the records over the years, and Ryan can probably give you some of them records in a minute, but I think that's been a big thing. One is it's an introduction into alongside registered cows, because the competition, you really have to have 2 documented, in a pedigree, just 2 documented Holstein registered sires to be considered in the competition. And then we go from there. But it did bring a lot of people back, I believe, into the value of high-end cows. So, and the quality that they had possessed within the herd that maybe had been thought of in the past, but had been forgotten a little the years before the competition. That was great for me to see them great herds come back into the competition and be highly successful.
And just taking that as well, there's some that have been unknown people that are members, but all of a sudden they've featured, and then they've got this cow that's either featured in their regional at the top end or even in the nationally at the top end as well. And you go, wow, where did they come from? And those cows, if this competition, I guess, hadn't been evolved, we wouldn't have known about them.
Yeah, correct. That's the beauty of the competition. It identifies true type cows in their home environment, and the quality of them cows is extremely high. So it has, I believe, added value to the registered cow, added value to some of them people's operations, and in some cases them cows have been picked up and worked with by other people to become high-end show cows as well. The cow that can win the on-farm most likely will be very competitive in the show ring.
And Ryan, from a company, GM for Semex, it must have given you a lot of footwork, leg room to go and see these cows, not necessarily all the time being by Semex sires, but to appreciate them, and for members to actually start to know the Semex rep and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big part of it, it's that interaction within contestants, and it's a chance to sometimes meet them for the first time or see cows for the first time on those farms, and it's a lot of enjoyment out of that. And I think probably the big part is probably from the exhibitor standpoint as well, actually being able to show cows to people too. Some guys that go to shows and that they have cows out all the time and people see them, but there's a lot of farms that are just day-to-day guys that don't show cows, probably don't always have a lot of people coming and visiting cows. So to be able to have cows out and have people, come and assess them and see them and talk about them, I think they get a big thrill out of. So it's definitely a big part for us, and part for our team has been able to get out there, catching up with existing people we know, meeting new people, and seeing a lot of good cows. I think anyone that enjoys and appreciates good cows would love a competition like this because we see a ton of them over a few days, and sometimes you sit there and think, good luck to the judge trying to split these because there's a lot of good cows and it's enjoyable to see for everyone. So it's great.
Competition is also promoted globally, Simon, because we've had a number of different judges, the 23rd judge in the competition, and we've had 15 New Zealand judges judge that competition during that time, which promotes the high quality judges you have within New Zealand and gives them a stage to present their skills and to show the great cows off. I'm the 7th Australian that's judged it, so you've got some international exposure through the 7, and we've had one Canadian, Brent Walker, judged it from Canada also. So we've had a wide range of judges, and that takes the quality of the cows back to other parts of the world.
Yeah, interesting you say that, David. I remember, I think Lindsay Marshall judged it one year from Australia, and his comments to me after the competition at the conference, he said he didn't realise how good of cows there was in New Zealand to be seen. So you're right, it's exposing our members the opportunity to put their cows on in front of someone of the international calibre and get talked about. Just touching on the judges, so how do you guys go about selecting the judges? Is that a joint Holstein Friesian New Zealand and Semex, or is the Semex choose a judge and then talk to the Holsteins about it? Well, how does that work?
So for us, it's, I guess, probably the first part is looking or deciding if we want to maybe nominate a New Zealand judge this year, or we look for someone overseas from Australia or somewhere else. A bit of talk, probably looking at a type of judge that we think would suit the competition, that would do the job that we want and know that they'll do justice to the competition. And then obviously going to the Holstein Association, so nominating, a name or names of people we think would be suitable from our end, and the Holsteins doing the okay from their end to, yes, that, judge is suitable from their end too, and then all going well, they'll accept it and we'll be seeing them judging a few months later. So in a nutshell, that's really how we come up with a judge.
It is a big time frame, whether you're doing it in the local area, that can be 3 or 4 days at times, right through to this one. And I think I was away from home for 10, 11 days, the time to travel over and travel back. So it is a big thing. And the travel is large. So I recorded the kilometres we did in this year's competition. There was 4,200 kilometres, plus 2 plane flights for me. That's, I don't, for people to understand what logistical issues when Ryan was talking later, it is a big ask to travel that many kilometres.
Yeah, it is. I know when I did the final, I started in Northland and ended in Southland, and it's quite ironic because the first cow I saw was my actually winning veteran cow, or my mature cow, I think, at that time. So that cow sticks in your mind. And I guess, David, from this year's perspective, judging the final, I know you would have enjoyed it, but just a bit of an overview on that. We can't say who's won anything because I don't know. And it's all going to be kept under wraps until it's announced at the conference, but just an overview on this year's comp.
Oh, it was really good. It was really good to be asked to judge the competition. For a little bit of background is that when it first started in Australia in 2001, I wasn't working for Semex at that stage, and I was asked to judge the first competition. So I did judge the first Australian Semex On-Farm Challenge, because we do work that Semex employees don't judge the competition, and we think there's potential for conflict of interest, so we don't do that. So I guess for Ryan to ring me as I retired was one, a welcome thing, because I really love the competition. Anyone knows me knows I'm passionate about cows. I can talk cows all day and all night, as I'm reminded often within my family group, but they all know it's me, so that's just the way it is. But to be asked to judge for a start was really a great thing, and I really appreciate the invitation to judge it, and then to get out there and do it and to spend the days on the road visiting farm in every area. And I have travelled extensively around New Zealand, but I haven't travelled every area all the time for a while. And to go to some of the farms I went to, from right up in Kaitaia in the north and right down to the bottom of the Southland, was quite a change. I enjoy travel, I enjoy great cows, and I enjoy people, so I got to do all 3 things at the same time. When we get to the place, I really look forward to showing the final results of these classes. Every class, I think you'll find there's incredibly good winners, incredibly good animals in the top 6, and outside the top 6, there's going to be some people who don't necessarily see their cow on the screen, but they're great cows. I have judged a few of these competitions. this one's right amongst the best I've ever judged. If it's not the best I've ever judged, the quality of the cows that ends up at the finish, I think you'll see on presentation night, absolutely outstanding. They'd be competitive in many, many parts of the world. And all farmed under different conditions, fed differently, yet still great cows. So I'm very much looking forward to showing you the winners and the pictures of these cows on the day to show you what they look like the day I turned up to see them, and the presentation of the cows on farm in the natural environment, and to look so good and so many of them is very, very impressive.
Just tell us a little bit about the process, how you did that, David, because I know we're all probably different. I guess I'm lucky in some sense that I've sort of got a photographic memory of a cow, and I can still picture cows that when I judged the final, what they still look like now today. But what was your process of how you actually came up with your final 6 in each class?
Well, I do score all the cows on the sheets. I score every cow. I would say I used to have a photographic memory, but I'd say I probably don't have one anymore. It's very lucky that you can have a phone in your pocket and take a quick snap of it. I know that the cows get photographs from the presentations, but I do snap the cows. But the top cows will stay in your memory the whole entire competition. You place them. So the way I would do it is I score the cows, and then as I'm scoring them, as I start coming through the country, I have their classes split up into folders. I did this the first one I ever did, and I kept the same format all the way through. It's split up into folders. So if I go to see a 2-year-old at your place, still, I decide after I've scored that cow out in my own mind, I will decide roughly where I think that cow will finish, and then I will slip the sheet in. If she's going to come third in the 2-year-old, I'll slip the sheet third in the 2-year-old. I'll then review all that at night time to make sure that I am comfortable with them animals and where they're fitting. There's always a start and a finish, and people wonder whether you get softer or easier on the way through the country. I don't believe you do at all. I think the high-end cows, I'm seeing the best of the best. So the high-end cows will be extremely, whether I see them the first farm on the first day or the last cow on the last day, as you alluded to first, if they're the best cow, they will be the best cow. So sometimes when you see them cows very, very early, that sheet never slips past first spot for the whole entire event. So that's how I would do it. I score them, place them in the folder, I'll review them down the track. If I'm unsure, the cows, maybe I need to go back and have a quick look on my phone. It's not really for that to assess the cow, because I've still got that in my memory. It's the cows that start getting down through 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And some of them cows would be a little different, but extremely close in their placings. So you have to get it in your own mind that, yes, that cow is the 4th place. Or you may have pointed them and there might be 3 cows in exactly the same points. So therefore you have to make a decision.
I guess that's reaffirming, taking the photos, reaffirming and justifying to yourself, so when you come to the final. So Ryan, the regional ones have been, obviously we're built in numbers, but again, we'll go back to the judges. It's given a lot of our newer judges, second tier down judges, I don't want to be disrespectful, but it's given them opportunity to go out and experience this competition that they have to then assess cows instead of going to a judging school of 4 cows or 5 cows in a ring together. They've got to start to work, as David has just said, through that process. So, how have you found that, Ryan?
Yeah, no, 100%. I think it's been a great stepping stone for some of the young judges in this country, especially the last few years. You look through the names, there's probably a patch there for a while where there wasn't a lot of young judges coming through, but especially the last few years there is, and we've seen those names popping up through the country in the areas. I think it's a great learning curve for them. Sometimes maybe they start in some of the smaller areas where the numbers aren't quite so big, just to get a taste of what the competition is, how to place and score and get that done. And I think that builds a confidence then to come through and do one of the bigger regions where, like I say, there is 170, 180 cows. It's a fair bit of work for them. That's more cows than what are in the final judging. And it's in 2-3 days. They have to have that done, judged, ready for a PowerPoint to go for presentation night. So it's definitely a confidence builder and great experience for the young judges. And I think going forward, we'll see more and more of them getting a go in this competition for sure.
If I can make it, I agree 100% with you. I think in some cases, it's a lot more difficult to work through the first round because you're under time constraints. And if you're an aspiring judge and you are asked to judge an on-farm challenge, my suggestion to you is you do talk to an experienced judge before you go to do it. Organisational skills is a huge thing, and if you think you're going to remember every cow on every farm, if you're scoring 120 to 140 cows in 6 different classes, you've got to have a clear mind to do that. So you must have some way to organise the way you do your judging, and that's why the score sheet. But different people over the years say, "I don't need the score sheet." Well, I'd suggest to you that the most experienced judges in the competition, and I'd say some of the best judges in the competition, they use the score sheet because they realise they need it for their own organisational skills and to keep everything in track. So my suggestion is, if you're an aspiring judge for this competition, you talk to them, people who have done it previously, and they will give you some very good tips on how to judge the competition.
It's something that we are, and Ryan's part of this working group at the moment, David, is reassessing our judging schools. And one of the things this year we did for our judging school, I was over-judged with Brad Parks, is that we actually put a demo cow or a cow, then they had to slot her into the class. Now, we might take that to a different level is go to a farm and have 3 cows in pens in different areas so they can't see each other. So they've got 10 minutes to go and view each cow and then put them in an order, because how many shows have 170 milkers there that you've got to judge? Not many, if any, in New Zealand, whereas the on-farm have got those numbers. So you're right. I guess one thing that's really glaring out of this conversation is there's twofold for me. Semex on-farm has identified cows and has given lots of people the opportunity to grow, their quality of the animals, and they look forward to entering. But on the other side of the coin is that you're also, the Semex on-farm is developing judges as well. And I think that's quite incredible, because there's no other system or competition that we can do to enhance those skills. It's an amazing competition.
So there probably has been some spin-offs that we might not have thought in the first meeting with Jim, but the one thing I'd say about Jim Conroy was a visionary, and he liked to have people involved, and liked to promote people and cows, and I think that's what this competition has achieved.
He certainly was a visionary, and certainly was a great promoter of the youth. And it's not our topic, but I'll mention it. The New Zealand Dairy event, Jim was the first person to put his hand up and said, "I'll sponsor it, but it's got to go to the youth." And I think Ryan was in the winning team of the very first youth challenge at the dairy event. So showing your age there, son. Yeah. So just going forward, do you see any tweaks or changes at all, Ryan, in the current setup, how it is? I know with this year just gone, we've merged the Blenheim region in with the Canterbury region. So any subtle changes, or maybe look at the class splits at all, or were you pretty happy with how everything is?
I mean, we're always looking at, is there ways of running things a little better, or things that need to be changed? And I guess that was merging of the Canterbury with the Blenheim was just to justify the numbers in one area and make one bigger area that was strong right through, and I think that's worked out pretty well. Class splits, I'm not sure, obviously it encompasses a year, so it's not a spring or autumn, it's for any animal born within that year, fits into that age group. That seems to work pretty well. Obviously the younger classes we have higher numbers, but that's natural, just like a show. So on that front, probably not. We're always open to ideas. Every year there's ideas that get run through. Sherilyn will sometimes come with ideas or thoughts that people have given, and we go, yes, that we could do that, or no, that's not an option. So we're always open to that. And this year, I guess, probably one thing that'll be a little bit different, which was David's idea, and I think it'll slot in pretty nicely, is with the finals presentation this year, we will have an overall champion and reserve champion cows. We've got trophies made for them this year too, and that's probably something I think going forward will carry on. I think it's an extra part just to acknowledge and reward those cows that are the top of the top. So that's a new addition this year, and I think something that will carry on going forward as the overall champion and reserve champion for the Nationals. So, yeah.
Well, over the years, the original classes were 2, 3, 4, 5 and mature, and then there was a recommendation through the New Zealand Holsteins that we added a veteran class. We probably thought about it for a long time, whether we thought that there'd be the cow numbers would be high enough in that to warrant the class, but that class is outstanding. When you see them veteran cows come up on the screen for this final, they're extremely, extremely good cows, and I think the recognition of the long-lasting cows in the Holstein breed makes it very good for Holsteins to be able to promote. I think you'll see they're highly productive cows who can calve many times, high production, great types to last in the herd for a long time. It's really longevity and productivity are the two things that every dairy farmer in the world is looking for.
Yeah, correct, 100%. Timing of the year, I know there's been some talk about the timing of the year, but realistically, it is the best time of the year because I think, in my mind, shows are pretty much over and done with, carving's over and done with, Christmas is over and done with. So any thoughts on that, Ryan?
Yeah, it's a funny one. We get that every year. It seems to pop up. Has done for a long time and probably was before I started with Semex 15 years ago. So we see it every year. There's a number of reasons. I guess with autumn calving, we do get a few more requests for the change in the timing to incorporate those guys. And that is a tough one. And that's just, I guess, part of it. But the reality is it's that time does suit. Like I say, calving's done. Most of the shows are done. Christmas is done. For us as a staff, that's a time when we can get on farm and do it. Like late year, there has been option to look at through late year and things like that. We've still bringing banks, we're sorting semen, we're doing end of years. There's a lot of stuff on through that spring and start of summer where it's just not feasible for us. So current time works well. We have done it. I know David did it a few years back, actually broke down and look at how long the Semex guys were on the road with the competition via regional or the national final. And there was about 40 days worth of staff hours on the road and running the competition. So to move it to a time of year when we're busy and aren't available would not be feasible. So it certainly is our best time of year that suits us for when we can run the competition and do it justice, for sure.
The other stuff is when you have the presentation of the first round of the competition in each area, which I think is a really big part of the whole scenario, is when the presentations are held, they're well-attended events, really, really well-attended events. And at that time of the year, they can be well-attended. And other times of the year, it might be still laying on cows, you might be cutting silage, you might be doing all sorts of things, milking large numbers, cows giving lots of milk. I think the timing around the presentation is also very, very important. It is in a local area, it's a well-attended event, and I think people enjoy the night.
Yeah, it's a good catch-up, and often they don't catch up with each other very much, but you did right, David. It's the Semex on Farm dinner prize giving. It's getting bigger and bigger. I think this year, the Waikato, I think we've just about got to look for a bigger venue going forward, Ryan, don't we? Yeah.
Yeah, it's the last few years we're pushing up close around that 50 people regularly. So it's very well attended. It's a great night to have the presentation. And I know the people that enter and others that come along for the night really enjoy watching the cows and getting the placings. So it's growing. And as David mentioned, it's a big part of the competition is the regional level and having those nights and getting everyone together.
Just quickly touching on the Australian one, David, do they have a national final or is it just like regional state finals?
Yeah, they're state finals. Australia's a big place. The 4,200 kilometres probably could be done in New South Wales if we took off to do that final. In fact, that's probably what they do. They wouldn't realise unless they hit the odometer, but they're done in regions. The first one was Victorian and East South Australia, and that one was the original one, started in 2001 and expanded into the individual states after that.
I see here in New Zealand, the other breed societies have started their comps as well. I think you guys are part of the Jersey one and the Esher one have their own one as well. So it certainly has taken off amongst the stud breeders.
People love the flexibility of it. It's an easy thing to enter. You can showcase your best cows. It's not a lot of preparation. Also, to be able to talk to people on farm and to promote and show your cows off is a great thing for a person who enters the competition, whether they place or they don't place. I think the other thing as a judge is an ability to make them people feel welcome and part of the competition. Every animal I seen in the final, every person was proud of that animal and how that animal was presented. And they should have been. It was a great, great, great group of cows. And every one of them has already become a champion in their age group, in their home area. And they're just going for a national level now. So there's a lot of advantages on the way through.
And that's something that you're very good at, David, is talking to the people that have entered and that were in the final, because I know a couple of people that made the finals that I talked to afterwards after you've been through, and their comment was, I really like my cow and had some good things to say about it, and whether they place or not, that was a big thing for them.
I think it's a final. You must remember you're judging the champions of the regions, so you are judging the best cows, and that sometimes that's not remembered. But I think that's an important part.
Yeah, definitely. And like I think you said before, David, you could be against 120 odd, and if you get in the top six, you've done damn well. And of those cows that are just outside the top six, there's not too much wrong with them. You just come up against some great opposition, haven't you?
And cows presented well on the day. All them cows were presented well there. And that part time of the year, they're very filled out through their frame, their body down and open and deep through their body. They're still making plenty of milk to show the quality udders off. I'm really looking forward to presenting the final winners at the conference.
You would have noticed, because you've been involved for a long time now, and especially in the Waikato, then the national, carting around the judges, but you would have noticed that the standard one has got better. But I guess the big thing is the presentation has really stepped up, isn't it?
Big time. I think this year would be number 14th year we're doing the on-farm competition, and there's always been good cows in New Zealand, and that part hasn't changed. Presentation, I think, has changed for sure. Guys getting the cows fed well, full of milk, looking good. But I think the overall quality has changed a lot. I think even more so, notice that this year in the Waikato, we had Glenn Gordon from Australia judge the Waikato Regional, who was also a national overjudge, whatever year that was, 4 or 5 years ago now. It was a few years back. He was an overjudge, and his comment was how incredible and the quality of the competition was this year, just as a regional level. He saw the national finalists, good cows then, but even he was very taken back with how good the quality was on a regional level in the Waikato this year. So I think to have someone from outside the country come in years later and see it, and to make that comment of how good the quality was, I think probably really does show how much the quality has improved and increased over the years.
Yeah, there's been like some herds that have really featured like champions year after year. And I guess, Ryan, if you want to have a bit of a talk about those herds that have, I think Delarane's one that's leading the pack with 20 odd winners, etc.
Yeah, so obviously we had our 20-year or 20th celebration. I think it was Nelson was a conference back in 2023, and there were some special awards that were presented at the time for the most successful exhibitors in the on-farm competition. At that stage, Delarane was a long way ahead. They had 20 winners, 18 entered by them, and a cow that they'd sold 1-2 more, but they had 20 winners, which was incredible considering at the time they hadn't exhibited for, I think, 5 years previous to that. So I think about 2017 was maybe the last year they exhibited in the competition, and they're still well out in front with 20 winners. So that was an incredible effort by Delarane. They had a period there where they really dominated the on-farm competition. I heard like Tahora, who've been in there from the start. I think now this won the second most with 13, I think now, and then Shireen in third with about 11. So it's a lot of synonymous names within the Holstein breed in New Zealand, herds that have done so well for a long time. And then probably now in the last few years, we've seen some other herds popping up. Trinoco's won a few more. They're probably up into about fourth now.
So the herds over the years that have done well, and we've just established that Delarane, Tahora, Shireen, Trinoco. You want to add more to that list?
Yeah, I mean, that's the main ones that have stuck at the top there, as mentioned.
Crestlands, I think, is up there as well.
Yeah, last few years, Trinoco's sort of managed to snag a few winners and move up on the list there, as well as Bellbrook and Crestlands as well. So as mentioned, it's a lot of the really well-known studs in New Zealand that have been consistently doing well in the competition and getting winners over the years. So yeah, it's good to see.
I remember from our region, Rhinebeck, is the Capes has had a winner there for a few years. Well, that's a big herd that we wouldn't have seen that cow if she hadn't been in the on-farm competition. So where to from here? I guess we can say that this competition has certainly, from what David and Jim, Brett Aitken, David Fechner, etc. set out, has really doubled in size and has given us as breeders opportunity to showcase our cows. It's given us as judges the opportunity to show our skills and get recognised. But it's also, I think, the big important thing, it has got so many more breeders, members or even non-members involved in this competition. So there's looking forward to it every year is certainly high on people's priority. So the competition, not only recognising great cows, but the way I sum it up, it recognises so many different things that's part of our lives as stud breeders. So your thoughts, David and Ryan?
I think you've summed that up pretty good. It is a great promotion. I think you got to remember, Holstein breed is an incredibly good breed. The cow is a high quality cow. The cow itself's improved, but the other quality and the amount of great uddered cows today is unbelievable. For a competition like this to be able to see that development and the cows getting better and better and better, and like I said, they're highly productive cows with longevity, to reward them cows and without taking them out of their home environment is a great thing. The thing with the people, I thought, whether it's people who used to show cattle and now they're in a larger situation or had a change of circumstances, now they can be back involved. I think the importance of having the members involved at the local level and the presentations and getting everyone together, because you're talking about like-minded people trying to achieve the same thing. Dairy farm can be challenging at times, and if you can bring them together in a positive environment to show off a great product, it's very energising for everyone that's within that room. So I think if Jim was here sitting beside me, he would tell you that he's extremely proud of the final results and how things are going, and I think he would be very, very happy we've been able to can do it. I've enjoyed my entire time running and being part of the competition. I've really enjoyed passing the mantle on to Ryan and the rest of the team. And if you go within that new Semex New Zealand team, Dave Stalker would have been part of the first one. He'd have been to every on-farm challenge in the Canterbury region that there has been. It's very rewarding for someone like him that we sold genetics for a lot of years. Therefore, we still do. Brian still does sell genetics, and so does everyone in the organisation. To see them genetics improve the cow quality to what it is today is very, very rewarding. And I think everyone would say that that's a big part of the competition also. Yeah. I like your spin-offs of the fact that it has, which I hadn't really even ever thought of, the improvement of judges or giving judges opportunity. It is very, very good. So thanks for the opportunity to talk on the podcast, and I look forward to catching everyone at the presentation.
And Ryan, do you want to have the last word?
No, I think you've done a pretty good job of summing up there. But yeah, no, I mean, in a nutshell, we really enjoy it. We look forward to it. We value the competition hugely at CMEX. Obviously, it's a premier competition for us. Obviously, for the Holstein Association as well, in terms of member numbers and involvement in that. We really appreciate the involvement and partnership with Holstein Friesian NZ in running the competition. As we mentioned earlier, there's a lot of logistics in that, but certainly the logistics from the Holstein end in terms of checking through all the entries and making sure all the records and everything's all correct, and then liaising with us, for the presentation at the conference and things like that. So it's a great partnership with the Holstein Association in this competition, and it's been a lot of years of hard work getting it going and what it is today, and our aim is to certainly carry it on, and if not, make it bigger and better going forward. So I'm looking forward to June, and well, later this month, we're in June now, we're looking forward to the presentation night in Auckland. I think it'll be a great event. A couple of changes to the presentation that this year which we've made, which I think will just make it that bit better. So looking forward to that, and then looking forward to obviously later in the year organising for next year's one. I really appreciate being asked to be on the podcast, but also a huge thanks to David too for agreeing to judge this year, and he was my boss for a fair while, but I don't have to try and blow him up now. But when looking at people to judge the competition, there's not too many around Australasia, if any, that have the credentials and ability of David. So he's an easy choice to do the competition, and I'm sure once we see the finals and the results, everyone will know he's done a great job. So thanks very much.
Thank you, Ryan. Yes, I'll echo those sentiments from Ryan, David. Can't wait to catch up with you at the conference. I'm sure there's a lot of members that'll be listening to this, and some will be going to the conference, and I'm sure they're going to get alongside you and pick your brains and about cow breeding and about the competition. So it's amazing to have you back in New Zealand, not now as Ryan's boss, but just as David Mayo, the ultimate bloody cowman. So it was really pleasing to see you there. Again, on behalf of the association, guys, I'd really like to thank you. The Semex competition is second to none in my eyes. Lucky enough to be part of it and still want to be part of it as well. So certainly you, Ryan, and your team need a real good pat on the back for Semex's involvement. And David, you need a pat on the back with Jim Conroy. And please pass on to Jim my thanks and gratitude for the initial startup. And so you both gentlemen should be very proud of what you're doing with Semex, or have done with Semex, are doing with Semex now. And I'm sure this competition, we're going to hit that 1,000 mark, hopefully in a year or two to come, and I'm sure. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is the champions from the paddock. That's how it started. That's how it's evolved, and where we're going to from here is going to be, let's hit that 1,000 mark. It would be outstanding if we could do so. brought to you from Holstein Friesian Maximum Production. We finish off today and salute the champions from the paddock. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.